"Don't reach for it," Camilla Hayes said, and the most feared man in the room actually stopped. The Blackwood Library had been silent for nearly 20 minutes, but this was not the comfortable silence Camilla knew, the soft hush of turning pages, tired students, and rain tapping against century-old windows. This silence felt watchful, wrong. Christian Barone stood 6 feet from the circulation desk in a charcoal suit that looked untouched by the storm outside. 2 men waited behind him, both still enough to make the marble lions near the entrance seem restless by comparison. Camilla did not know much about Christian Barone. She knew his name because everyone in Manhattan seemed to know it. She knew city officials attended his charity dinners. Business owners lowered their voices when he entered a room, and newspaper articles described his influence without ever explaining where it came from. She also knew he had arrived 15 minutes before closing and asked for access to a sealed archive that had not been opened in 18 years. Camilla had refused. He had not threatened her. That somehow made him more unsettling. He had simply placed one hand on the polished oak counter and said, "I need the book stored under Hayes' collection, box 17. Hearing her last name had tightened something beneath Camilla's ribs. She had kept her expression neutral. Librarians learned early that surprise invited questions. "That collection is restricted," she had told him. "Then unrestricted. That isn't how archives work." One of his men had shifted, perhaps expecting Christian to become angry. Christian had only studied her with dark, unreadable eyes. "Do you always make powerful people wait, only the ones without appointments?" For half a second, something changed near his mouth. Not quite a smile. Then the clock above the reference desk clicked to 8:47, and Camilla noticed the man beside the history shelves. He had entered 40 minutes earlier wearing a navy raincoat. He had selected a large atlas, carried it to a table, and opened it near the middle. Since then, he had not turned a single page. At first, Camilla had assumed he was waiting for someone. People often came to libraries for reasons that had little to do with books. Warmth, quiet, a safe place to sit. But the man was not relaxed. His shoulders remained too square. His attention kept sliding toward the security camera above the east doorway. His right hand rested beneath the table while his left pressed flat against a page he had never read. Camilla glanced toward Noah Reed, the 10-year-old boy seated near the children's section. His mother worked evenings at the pharmacy across the street, and Noah spent the final hour of most weekdays doing homework under Camilla's supervision. Tonight, he was building a paper bridge from index cards, completely unaware of the tension gathering 30 feet away. Camilla looked back at Christian. He had noticed the man too. She saw it in the sudden stillness of his posture. His left shoulder turned slightly, placing his body between the stranger and the 2 men behind him. Then his right hand moved toward the inside of his jacket. "Don't reach for it," Camilla said. Christian's eyes snapped to hers. She was already moving. She stepped from behind the desk, crossed the narrow aisle, and pulled the red fire alarm mounted beside the reference shelves. A sharp bell shattered the silence. Overhead lights flashed. Heavy safety doors began descending between sections designed to contain smoke and guide visitors toward emergency exits. The man in the raincoat rose too quickly, his chair scraping across the floor. Camilla did not look at him again. She ran toward Noah. "Leave the bridge," she said, keeping her voice level. "We're practicing the emergency route." Noah stared at her. "Is this a drill?" "It is if you move now," he obeyed. Camilla took his hand and guided him behind the stone information desk as the safety door lowered between them and the history section. Christian reached them seconds later, followed by his men. His expression remained controlled, but his gaze swept the room with unnerving precision. "How many exits?" he asked. "4 public, 2 staff only, 1 service tunnel beneath the archive. Which one can't be watched from the street?" "The service tunnel. Take the boy there." Camilla shook her head. "Not yet." His eyes narrowed. "You saw what was happening before my security did. I saw someone pretending to read." The alarm continued ringing. Somewhere beyond the lowered door, footsteps moved quickly across tile, then faded. Camilla counted 3 seconds, 5, 8. She had worked in Blackwood for 6 years. She knew every echo the building made. Those footsteps had not gone toward an exit. They had gone downstairs, toward the restricted archive. Camilla's pulse turned cold. Christian followed her gaze to the staircase. "He wasn't here for you," she said. "Then what was he here for?" Camilla looked toward the circulation desk. The old leather-bound book Christian had asked about was no longer where she had placed it. In its place lay a white card with 4 words written in black ink. "Open to page 317. Christian stepped beside her close enough that she could hear the measured rhythm of his breathing beneath the alarm. "Where is the book, Miss Hayes?" Camilla stared at the empty space on the counter. Her mother's collection had been sealed since the year she died. No one outside the library should have known it existed, yet Christian Barone had come searching for it, and someone else had arrived prepared to steal it. "I don't know," Camilla said. For the first time that night, Christian looked at her as though he believed her. Then the lights went out. Darkness erased the library so completely that Camilla could hear Noah's breathing change beside her. The alarm continued to pulse through the building, but without the lights, every sound felt closer. A shoe brushed against tile somewhere beyond the circulation desk. One of Christian's men whispered that the emergency system should have switched to backup power. Camilla kept one hand on Noah's shoulder and reached beneath the desk with the other, searching for the small flashlight taped beside the panic button. Her fingers found cold metal. She clicked it once, shielding the beam against her coat so it would not announce their position. Christian stood less than 3 feet away. In the narrow light, his face looked carved from shadow. "The backup generator is in the basement," Camilla said quietly. "Can someone shut it down from inside, only with a staff key or access code?" Christian's gaze dropped to the key ring clipped at her waist. "How many people have either?" "5 employees. Evelyn Shaw, 2 maintenance workers, the head of security, and me." Noah gripped her sleeve. "Camilla, is somebody stealing books?" The question almost broke her heart because he still believed books were the worst thing anyone could lose in this building. She crouched so her voice would reach him without carrying. "Someone made a bad choice. We are going to make a better one. Stay close to me." He nodded. Christian removed his jacket and placed it around Noah's shoulders. The gesture was quick, almost impatient, as though kindness embarrassed him. Then he looked toward the staircase. "The person downstairs has access, or took it from someone who does," Camilla said. The head of security should have been near the east entrance. She had not seen him since Christian arrived. That absence now felt less like negligence and more like a warning. Camilla led them behind the circulation desk toward a narrow staff corridor. She knew the route by memory. 7 steps to the copier alcove. A right turn beside the framed photograph of the library's opening day. 12 feet to the locked records room. Every object had a place in her mind even when she could not see it. Christian followed without questioning her directions. His men moved behind them, careful and silent. At the records room, Camilla used her key. The door opened with a soft click. She guided Noah inside and pointed toward a low cabinet beneath the interior window. "Stay here. Do not open the door unless you hear my voice." Noah looked past her at Christian. "Are you going with her?" Christian answered before Camilla could. "Yes." Noah seemed satisfied by that. Camilla was not. She stepped back into the corridor and closed the door. "You should stay with him," she told Christian. "Your people can check the basement. My people do not know this building, neither do you. That is why I am following you." There was no arrogance in the statement, only certainty. Camilla disliked how reassuring it sounded. She turned away before he could see that. The staff stairwell waited at the end of the corridor. When Camilla opened the door, damp air rose from below, carrying the smell of stone, dust, and old paper. The basement archive had once connected to a municipal records tunnel beneath 42nd Street, but the passage had been sealed after a flood decades ago. At least that was what every employee had been told. Camilla descended slowly, keeping the flashlight angled toward the steps. Christian stayed close enough that she could hear the quiet movement of his shoes behind her. "Why did you ask for the Hayes collection?" she whispered. "This is not the time. Someone disabled my building and stole a book connected to my dead mother. I think the time has arrived." Silence stretched between them for 3 steps. "A man contacted me yesterday," Christian said. "He claimed the book contained evidence my father hid before he died." Camilla stopped. Christian nearly walked into her. She turned, lifting the beam just enough to see his expression. "Who contacted you? He never gave a name, and you came anyway?" He knew something no stranger should know. "What?" Christian's eyes held hers in the dim stairwell. "Your mother's final message." Camilla forgot the cold, forgot the alarm, forgot the footsteps that might be waiting below. Her mother had died in a car accident when Camilla was 10. There had been no final message, only a hospital call and an empty house that never felt like home again. "What did she say?" Camilla asked. He looked toward the basement door below them, where a thin line of pale light had appeared beneath the frame. Someone had restored power to one room, then a voice drifted through the door. Calm, male, familiar enough to make Camilla's skin turn cold. She said the Barones would come for page 317, the voice called, and when they did, Camilla Hayes would finally learn why her mother had to disappear. Camilla knew the voice before she understood why. It belonged to Daniel Mercer, Blackwood Library's head of security, the man who brought coffee for the morning staff and complained about the Yankees every October. She had trusted him with closing procedures, master keys, and the code to the basement generator. Now his voice waited beyond the door like a locked room she had never noticed inside him. Christian moved one step ahead of her, but Camilla caught his sleeve. "No," she whispered, "he wants you to enter first." Christian looked down at her hand, then at her face. She released him immediately. The fabric of his shirt remained warm against her fingers. "You recognize him," Christian said. "Daniel Mercer. He has worked here for 9 years. And tonight? Tonight he knew my mother's name." The thin light beneath the basement door flickered once. Daniel spoke again. "You have 30 seconds, Camilla. After that, the archive doors seal." Camilla glanced at the control panel beside the stairwell. Its green indicator had turned red. The archive's fire doors were designed to protect rare collections from smoke and water. Once sealed, they could remain locked for an hour unless the main system was restored. Daniel was not trying to trap them outside. He wanted Camilla inside before the countdown ended. "He needs me," she said. Christian's expression hardened. "That does not mean you give him what he wants. He stole a book he cannot read. How do you know? Because the Hayes collection was catalogued by my mother. She used a private notation system for restoration notes. No one else understood it. Camilla had spent years studying those marks without admitting why. Tiny triangles beside damaged bindings, dots beneath page numbers, short lines angled toward the spine. As a child, she had thought they were decorations. As an adult, she realized they were instructions. Christian studied the door. "Then he needs you to find whatever is hidden on page 317. "Yes, and once you do?" Camilla looked toward the red light on the control panel. "He will no longer need me." The words settled heavily between them. Christian turned to one of his men and spoke in a low voice. "Stay on the stairs. Keep the upper corridor secure. Do not leave the boy alone." The man nodded and moved back upward. Christian's second guard took position beside the control panel. Camilla noticed how quickly they obeyed him, but she also noticed something else. Christian did not give an order concerning her. He looked at her instead. "Can you open another entrance?" he asked. The question surprised her more than a command would have. Camilla searched her memory. The main archive door opened into the climate-controlled storage room, but an older service passage ran behind the shelving units. Maintenance workers used it before the renovation. Most employees believed it had been closed permanently. Camilla remembered a floor plan stored in the municipal records cabinet. On that plan, the passage ended behind the map collection, about 20 feet from the basement door. "There might be another way," she said. "Might? The building was constructed in 1928. Nothing here is certain except overdue fines." Christian's mouth moved slightly. It was the closest he had come to smiling since the lights went out. Daniel began counting from the other side of the door. 20. Camilla turned and climbed 3 steps to a narrow landing. She ran her hand along the painted brick wall until her fingers found a shallow metal edge hidden beneath layers of old paint, a maintenance panel. She pulled, but it did not move. Christian stepped beside her. "Stand back. It is not locked. The paint sealed it." Camilla wedged the tip of her key beneath the edge and worked it slowly. Flakes fell onto her sleeve. Daniel reached 15. Christian held the flashlight while she loosened the panel. The beam remained steady, even when the alarm stopped without warning. The sudden silence pressed against her ears. At 10, the panel opened. Behind it waited a narrow passage filled with pipes and dust. Camilla crouched and aimed the flashlight inside. The space was barely 4 feet high. "This leads behind the map room," she said. "You are sure?" "No." Christian looked toward the basement door, then back at the passage. "Good enough." Camilla entered first. The concrete floor scraped beneath her palms. Pipes ticked overhead, carrying heat through the old building. Christian followed close behind, his shoulders barely fitting between the walls. Daniel finished counting, but no heavy doors moved. The threat had been a test. He wanted to know whether Camilla would obey. She kept crawling. 10 feet, 15. Then she saw a pale rectangle ahead, a vent opening into the archive. Camilla lifted one finger to her lips and looked back. Christian nodded. Through the metal grate she could see Daniel standing at the central work table. The missing book lay open beneath a green lamp. Beside it rested a photograph of a young woman with Camilla's eyes, her mother. Daniel touched the blank page marked 317, then raised a small handheld radio. "She found the service passage," he said calmly, "just like Elena said she would." A second voice answered through the radio. "Then let her come. Christian Barone must not leave the library with the truth." Camila felt Christian go still behind her. She looked again at the photograph and noticed a man standing beside her mother, half hidden by a fold in the image. Even from a distance, she recognized Christian's eyes. The man was his father. Camila stared at the photograph until the edges of the world seemed to narrow around it. Her mother stood beside a younger version of Christian's father beneath the carved stone arch of Blackwood Library, both of them looking directly at the camera. Elena Hayes wore the same silver pendant Camila kept in the top drawer of her bedroom. The man beside her held the book now open on Daniel Mercer's table. Christian's breathing changed behind Camila, almost too quietly to notice. She did not turn. The photograph explained nothing, yet it rearranged everything. "Daniel knows we are here," she whispered. "Then we stop hiding," Christian said. In the cramped passage, his face was only inches from hers, but his expression revealed nothing beyond focus. "That is what he expects. He expects fear. No, he expects you." Christian's gaze sharpened. Camila pointed toward the radio on the table beyond the vent. "Whoever is speaking to him wants you inside the archive. Daniel is delaying because he is waiting for someone else to arrive, or for something upstairs to happen." Christian glanced toward the passage behind them, toward Noah and the remaining guard. Camila understood the thought before he said it. "Noah is safe for now," she said. "For now is not enough." The words were quiet, but they carried more weight than an order. Camila turned back to the vent. Daniel had moved to a cabinet near the west wall. He entered a code, removed a flat archival box and placed it beside the book. Then he lifted the photograph and studied it as though it belonged to him. "He knows my mother," Camila said. More than he admitted. Christian shifted closer to the grate. "Can you reach the map room from here? The service passage continues another 15 feet. There should be a loose panel behind the atlas shelves. Then we enter from there." Camila hesitated. Christian noticed. "What? The shelves are mounted on tracks. If the floor lock is engaged, the panel will not open. Can you release it? From inside the map room, yes." He waited. Camila could feel the question in his silence. She looked again at the photograph, then at Daniel's back. "There is another access point beneath the cataloging table," she said. "It opens into the floor channel used for electrical lines. It is narrow." Christian glanced at the passage around them. "I have noticed. Despite everything." Camila nearly smiled. The reaction surprised her enough to vanish immediately. She crawled forward, counting the support beams until she reached the floor channel. Dust clung to her palms. The air smelled of metal and dry paper below. A removable grate covered a shallow maintenance trench that ran directly beneath the archive work tables. Camila eased it upward without making a sound. Christian steadied it with one hand. She lowered herself first. The trench was barely 3 feet deep, forcing her to crouch as she moved. Christian followed, slower because of his height. Above them, Daniel's shoes crossed the floor. Camila froze. He stopped near the central table. "You always were too curious, Camila," he said. Her pulse stumbled. Christian looked at her. Daniel continued speaking, but not toward the radio. "Your mother had the same problem. She believed truth belonged to everyone." Camila remained still beneath the floor. Daniel could not see her, but he knew she was close. "What did she know?" Camila called. Christian's eyes met hers, warning and question in equal measure. Camila ignored both. Daniel gave a tired laugh, enough to make powerful men nervous, including Christian's father. Silence followed. Camila heard the faint scrape of Daniel moving the photograph. "Matteo Barone tried to correct a mistake," he said at last. "Your mother tried to help him." Christian's jaw tightened at the name, but he said nothing. Camila pressed on. "What mistake?" "The kind families build fortunes around and then pretend never happened. That is not an answer. It is the only one you get until you open the book." Camila looked at the underside of the table above her. The book rested less than 2 feet away. If she lifted the maintenance panel carefully, she could reach it, but Daniel had positioned himself nearby. She needed him to move. "Page 317 is blank," she said. Daniel paused. "Not to you." The words settled into place. Her mother's notation system. The tiny marks hidden along the binding. Camila had seen similar patterns in dozens of restored books, but never understood their full purpose. The message was not on the page. It was in the way the page had been repaired. "You need me to read the binding," she said. "And Christian needs to hear what it says." The radio crackled. The second voice returned, colder now. "Enough. Bring them out." Daniel's shoes shifted. Camila felt Christian's hand close around her wrist, firm but controlled, stopping her from rising. Then a new sound came from above them. Not footsteps. A child's voice echoed faintly through the archive intercom. "Camila," Noah said. "The man upstairs says he knows where your mother is." Noah's voice turned the narrow maintenance trench colder than the stone beneath Camilla's knees. For one terrible second, she forgot how to breathe. Her mother had been dead for 18 years. There had been a funeral. There had been a grave. Because the accident had left too little for a child to see. Camilla had spent half her life forcing herself to accept that ending. Now a stranger upstairs was using Noah's voice to tear it open. "Noah," she called, keeping her tone steady. "Do not move from where you are," the intercom hissed. "I am still in the records room," he said. "Christian's man is here. Another man is outside the door. He says your mother is alive." Christian released Camilla's wrist and reached for the small radio clipped inside his shirt. He pressed the button once. "Luca." Static answered. Then his guard's voice came through, low and controlled. "We are secure. The boy is with me." A man is speaking through the corridor intercom. He has not entered the room. Camilla closed her eyes for half a second. Noah was not alone. That mattered. It did not make the message less cruel. "Can you shut down the intercom?" Christian asked. "Not from here." Camilla looked toward the archive ceiling. The public address system ran through the building's central communications closet on the mezzanine. Whoever controlled it had access to the library network and staff override codes. Daniel had not done this alone. The second voice on his radio was somewhere inside Blackwood. "Tell Noah not to answer any more questions," Camilla said. Christian repeated the instruction, then looked at her. "We get the boy out first. The service tunnel can take him beneath the east wing," she said. "But the entrance is inside this archive." Daniel's shoes moved overhead. He had heard enough. "You are wasting time," he called. "The child is safe as long as you cooperate." Christian's face changed so subtly that someone else might have missed it. Camilla did not. The stillness in him became sharper, more dangerous. She leaned closer and lowered her voice. "He wants you angry. He has succeeded. Then do not reward him." Christian held her gaze. The silence between them lasted only a moment, but it felt like a decision. He nodded once. Camilla studied the maintenance panel above her. Daniel stood near the work table, but the climate controls hummed behind him on the far wall. If she could trigger the preservation alarm, the archive's ventilation system would reverse and seal the inner storage compartment. Daniel would be forced away from the table to override it. The control switch sat beneath the cataloging desk, 3 feet to her left. "When the alarm starts, he will move toward the west wall," she whispered. "I can reach the book, and I can reach him." "No, you can reach the tunnel controls. We need Noah out." Christian's expression made it clear he disliked the plan. "You are asking me to leave you beside a man who betrayed you. I am asking you to protect the child you said was not safe enough." That stopped him. Camilla reached through the gap beside the floor panel and found the small red laver used during humidity failures. She pulled it. A high electronic tone filled the archive. White indicator lights flashed along the ceiling. Daniel cursed under his breath and hurried toward the west wall. Camilla lifted the panel and rose behind the cataloging table. The missing book lay open only inches away. She grabbed it, along with the photograph, and dropped back into the trench before Daniel turned. Christian was already moving toward the tunnel junction. 10 feet ahead, Camilla said. "There is a wheel valve beside a yellow pipe. Turn it clockwise. It releases the old passage door." He disappeared into the darkness. Above her, Daniel reached the table and stopped. "You took it," he said. Camilla pressed the book against her chest. "You wanted me to read it, not without Mr. Barone listening. He is listening." Daniel's silence told her the lie had worked. Camilla opened the book beneath the weak beam of her flashlight. Page 317 appeared blank, exactly as before. She ran her thumb along the inner edge. The paper felt thicker near the spine, formed a pattern of dots and angled lines. Not letters, coordinates. Camilla counted them, matching each symbol to the restoration code Elena had taught her as a child. 317, then another sequence, east tunnel, lower shelf, brass case. The book was not the evidence, it was a map. A heavy mechanism groaned somewhere beyond the trench. Christian had opened the passage. His voice came through the radio. "Luca, move the boy now. Follow the lower corridor until you reach the east exit." Noah's frightened reply followed. "Camilla is coming too, right?" Camilla swallowed. "I am right behind you," she said loudly enough for the intercom to carry it. Daniel stepped closer to the open floor panel. His shadow crossed the grate. "You still believe Elena died in that accident," he said. Camilla kept one hand on the book and the other around the photograph. "I believe you are using her to control me." "Then look at the back of the picture." Camilla turned it over. A date had been written beneath her mother's name. Not 18 years ago, 6 months ago. Below it was a single sentence in Elena Hayes's handwriting. Camilla knew every curve of it, every careful letter. Tell my daughter I stayed hidden because Christian Barone's enemies never stopped looking. The handwriting stole the strength from Camilla's hands. She had traced those letters on birthday cards, grocery lists, and notes tucked into school lunches. Elena always crossed the final stroke of a lowercase t with a slight upward curve, as if every word were trying to lift itself from the page. No one else knew that. No one could have copied it by accident. Camilla read the sentence again, hoping it would change. It did not. Tell my daughter I stayed hidden because Christian Barone's enemies never stopped looking. The archive alarm continued its thin electronic cry, but the sound seemed far away now. Daniel's shadow waited above the open floor panel. Christian's voice came through the radio, confirming that Luca and Noah had reached the lower corridor. Camilla heard Noah ask whether she was coming. She forced her mouth to work. Keep going, she said. Do not stop until you see the green exit sign. You promise? I promise. She had promised children many things over the years. That difficult books became easier, that storms passed, that their mothers would arrive after work. This promise felt heavier because she did not know whether she could keep it. Daniel crouched near the opening. Now you understand why the book mattered. Camilla pressed the photograph flat against the cover. I understand that someone wants me confused. Your mother wanted you protected. She let me believe she was dead. The words came out quieter than anger. Daniel did not answer immediately. That hesitation told Camilla more than any explanation. Whatever he believed he was doing, he knew the cruelty of it. Elena had no safe choice, he said. There is always a choice. Not when the people hunting you know your child's name. Camilla looked toward the dark tunnel where Christian had disappeared, his enemies. The message had named them, but not him. That distinction mattered. Elena had not written that Christian was dangerous. She had written that danger followed his family. Camilla hated herself for noticing. Who took the photograph 6 months ago, she asked. Daniel rose, moving beyond her view. Read the page correctly and you will find out. The page is a map. Silence. Camilla felt a small, cold certainty settle inside her. Daniel had expected her to discover the route, but he had not expected her to do it so quickly. East continued. Lower shelf. Brass case. His shoes stopped. You really are Elena's daughter. That is not an answer either. Christian returned through the maintenance trench, his radio held low. Noah is out, he said. Relief moved through Camilla so suddenly that she had to brace one hand against the floor. Christian noticed the photograph in her grip, then the look on her face. She showed him the back. The beam of his flashlight remained steady over the handwriting. Only the muscles along his jaw shifted. Is it hers? He asked. Yes. He did not tell her what to think. He did not offer a false certainty. He simply studied the date and said, 6 months ago means someone has been keeping her location current. Daniel's voice came from above. Matteo Barone promised Elena protection. He failed. Christian inherited the obligation. Christian looked up toward the floor panel. You do not speak for my father. Your father trusted the wrong people. So did Camilla. The calmness in Christian's voice made Daniel go quiet. Camilla turned toward him. She could not see what he was thinking, only the controlled stillness of his face. The brass case is in the east tunnel, she said. We need it before whoever is on that radio does. Christian nodded. Can Daniel reach it another way? Not without crossing the service corridor. The preservation alarm sealed the west archive door. Then we have minutes. Camilla closed the book and tucked the photograph inside her coat. She led Christian deeper into the trench until they reached the junction where the old tunnel opened beneath the archive wall. The passage beyond was narrow and lined with unused shelving. Dust covered everything except a faint set of tracks along the floor. Someone had been there recently. Camilla followed the marks to the lower shelf. A rectangular brass case sat behind a row of empty document boxes. It was smaller than she expected, no larger than a hardback dictionary. There was no lock, only a circular plate engraved with 3 numbers. 317. Camilla turned the dials. The case opened with a soft click. Inside lay a microcassette recorder, a sealed envelope, and a library card issued in the name Elena Hayes. The expiration date was next year. Camilla's breath caught. Christian reached for the recorder but stopped before touching it. Your decision, he said. The choice should have frightened her. Instead, it steadied her. She pressed the play button. Static filled the tunnel. Then her mother's voice emerged. Older than Camilla remembered, but unmistakable. Camilla, if you are hearing this, then Christian Barone found the book and Vincent Moretti has finally made his move. Christian went completely still. Camilla looked at him. She knew the name. Vincent Moretti had appeared in newspapers beside Christian for years, described as an advisor, a family friend, the man who had helped raise him after Matteo died. Elena's recording continued. Do not give Vincent the case. Do not trust Daniel Mercer. And before Christian decides what to do, ask him one question. A pause followed, filled with tape hiss. Ask him who ordered Matteo Barone's car off the road. The question settled into the tunnel like another locked door. Camilla watched Christian's face, searching for some fracture in his composure, but he gave her almost nothing, only a slow breath, only the way his attention shifted from the recorder to the darkness behind them. Who ordered Matteo Barone's car off the road? She asked. Christian did not answer at once. The silence told her he had considered the question before, perhaps many times. Officially, no one, he said. The investigation called it an accident, and unofficially, my father had enemies. That is not what my mother asked. Christian looked at her then. The beam from the flashlight cut across his face, leaving one eye in shadow. Vincent Moretti was the first person to reach the scene. Camilla felt the meaning before she fully understood it. You think he knew where to go? I think he knew before anyone should have known. The recorder clicked softly in her hand. Her mother's voice had stopped, but the tape continued turning. Camilla pressed pause. Why did you keep him close? Because I was 19 years old. My father was dead. And Vincent was the man who held the organization together. His tone remained even, but she heard something beneath it now. Not grief exactly, something harder. The ache of realizing loyalty might have been built from deception. He raised you after that, Camilla said. He advised me. That is not the same thing. Christian's mouth tightened. No, it is not. A metallic sound echoed from the far end of the tunnel. Daniel had found another route. Camilla closed the brass case and held it against her side. We need to move. Christian nodded toward the recorder. Take everything. I was planning too good. There was the faintest trace of approval in his voice, and Camilla resented how much steadier it made her feel. They followed the service tunnel east. The passage narrowed, then sloped upward toward a rusted emergency door beneath the library's loading dock. Camilla knew the exit opened into an alley behind 41st Street, 2 blocks from the main entrance. The rain outside had grown louder, drumming against metal overhead. Christian checked his radio. His guard answered immediately. Noah is with his mother. Police are securing the east entrance. The building is being evacuated. Camilla closed her eyes for one brief second. Noah was safe. His mother had him. The knowledge loosened something in her chest. Tell them not to let Daniel leave, she said. Christian relayed the message, then glanced at her. You still expect the police to arrest him. What do you expect? That depends on what he does next. That is not reassuring. It was not meant to be. They reached the emergency door. Camilla pushed the release bar, but it did not move. The mechanism had seized from years of disuse. Christian stepped beside her and pressed his shoulder against it. Metal groaned, but the door held. Camilla crouched near the hinges and examined the frame. Fresh scratches marked the lower latch. Someone had locked it from the outside with a steel cable. They planned for this exit, she said. Can you remove it? Not from here. The sound behind them came again, closer this time. Footsteps, measured, unhurried. Daniel knew they were trapped. Christian looked up at the ventilation grill above the door. How high does that shaft go? About 8 feet. It opens into the loading area. Can you fit through it? Camilla looked at the narrow opening. Probably. Then you go first. And leave you here, you take the case. I keep Daniel occupied. Camilla stared at him. My mother said not to give Vincent the case. She did not say I should abandon the only person who knows what Vincent has done. Camilla, his voice lowered, this is not an argument. You keep saying that as though it makes you right. For the first time, Christian looked openly frustrated. You are holding evidence that may expose the man who destroyed both our families, which is exactly why separating is a bad idea. The footsteps stopped somewhere beyond the bend. Daniel's voice carried through the tunnel. Christian, Vincent is offering you a choice. Christian turned toward the sound. He has never offered anything without deciding the answer first. Leave the case and walk away. Camilla keeps her life. You keep your empire. Camilla felt Christian go still. The offer was too clean, too carefully shaped around what each of them might fear losing. She tightened her hold on the brass case. And Elena, she called. Daniel paused. Your mother is alive because Vincent allowed it. Where is she? Safe until you force him to reconsider. Christian looked at Camilla. She could not read his thoughts, but she saw the decision forming in his posture. He was preparing to draw attention toward himself again, preparing to make the choice alone. Camilla stepped between him and the tunnel. Do not. He wants the case. He wants you to believe the case is the only thing that matters. She opened it and examined the recorder, the envelope, and the library card. Something was wrong. The card's barcode had been covered with a strip of clear archival tape. Beneath it, faint handwriting showed through, her mother's handwriting. Camilla peeled the tape back carefully. A sequence of numbers appeared, followed by 3 words, St. Agnes Station. Christian read them over her shoulder. That subway station closed years ago. Camilla turned the card over. Blackwood's old service maps connected the East Tunnel to a forgotten municipal platform beneath the avenue. Her mother had not hidden a location on the tape. She had hidden an escape route. Daniel's footsteps resumed. Camilla slid the card into her coat and looked at Christian. The loading door is the trap, she whispered. The real exit is below us. Camilla dropped to one knee and ran her hand across the tunnel floor. The concrete felt cold and uneven beneath her palm. Near the wall, beneath years of dust, she found a thin metal seam shaped like a square. There, she whispered. Christian crouched beside her. The panel was almost invisible, its edges disguised beneath grime and old paint. Camilla slipped the tip of her key into the narrow gap and pulled. Nothing moved. Behind them, Daniel's footsteps drew closer. "You have nowhere left to go," he called. Camilla ignored him. She pressed both hands against the panel and felt a faint vibration beneath it. Air moved below. There was space under the floor. "It is sealed," Christian said. "No, it is counterweighted." She searched along the edge until her fingers found a recessed handle. The mechanism released with a soft metallic click. Christian caught it and raised it carefully. A ladder descended into darkness. Damp air rose from below, carrying the smell of rust, stone, and standing water. "How far?" he asked. The old maps showed 20 feet to the utility level, then a west passage towards St. Agnes. "You memorized maps of abandoned tunnels?" "I work in a library." Daniel rounded the bend before she could say more. He stopped about 30 feet away, his outline framed by the weak emergency light behind him. His hands remained visible at his sides. That frightened Camilla more than if he had been openly threatening them. It meant he believed time was on his side. "Camilla," he said, almost gently, "your mother built this route so you could disappear if necessary. Then she expected you to betray her." Daniel's expression tightened. "Elena trusted me once." "That does not answer the question." "She trusted many people once." Christian moved slightly between them. Daniel noticed and gave a tired smile. "There it is, the Baron instinct. Stand in front of the problem and call it protection." Camilla glanced at Christian. He did not react. His attention remained fixed on Daniel. "Get down the ladder," he told her quietly. "Not without you, Camilla." We already had this argument. For one second, the tension in Christian's face shifted. Not amusement. Not approval, something closer to recognition. He understood she would not obey simply because he asked. "Then go first," he said. "I will follow." Daniel took one step closer. "You think the station leads to safety?" Camilla paused with one hand on the ladder. "I think you want me to believe it does not. Vincent knows every route Elena ever used. Then why are you still trying to stop us?" Daniel said nothing. That was enough. Camilla lowered herself onto the ladder. The brass case rested beneath her coat, pressed securely against her side. Christian waited until she had descended several rungs before following. The floor panel began to close above them, but Daniel's hand appeared at the edge. Christian pulled it downward with controlled force until the latch caught. The darkness below became complete. Camilla switched on the flashlight. The ladder ended on a narrow concrete platform beside old electrical conduits. Water dripped somewhere in the distance. A faded sign surfaced line. "The route is real," she said. Christian stepped down beside her. So was Daniel's warning. "You think Vincent knows about it?" "I think Vincent wants us moving towards something he chose." Camilla looked at the sign again. Her mother had hidden the location beneath archival tape on a library card. That was not careless. Elena would have expected someone to search the case. The message had been meant for Camilla specifically. "The card does not tell us to use the station," she said. "It only names it." Christian turned toward her. "A meeting place or a storage site?" She took out the library card and held it beneath the flashlight. The sequence of numbers before the station name appeared ordinary at first. 9426. Camilla read them again. They were not a code, they were a call number. "These numbers identify a book," she said. "Which book?" "Local history. New York Transit Archives." At Blackwood? No, St. Agnes had its own reading room before the station closed. Christian glanced into the passage. "You are saying there is another collection underground?" "There was. Most of it was transferred decades ago." "Most?" Camila folded the card into her palm. My mother specialized in materials that were never officially catalogued. They followed the tunnel west. The walls narrowed, then opened into an old platform lined with green tile. Broken clocks hung above rusted benches. A row of wooden cabinets still read reading room, though the glass doors had been painted over. Camila approached the fourth cabinet and entered the call number on a small brass dial. The lock released. Inside rested a single grey document box. Christian stayed beside her, watching the tunnel behind them while she lifted the lid. The box contained no papers, only a recent photograph, a key and a train schedule dated 3 days from now. The photograph showed Elena Hayes standing beneath a station clock. Older now, silver threaded through her dark hair. Beside her stood Vincent Moretti. He was not restraining her. He was smiling, and Elena was looking directly at the camera. On the back, her mother had written one sentence: "Camila, trust the evidence, not the photograph." Christian read it over her shoulder. She knew this would look like an alliance. Camila turned the key over in her fingers. A number had been engraved along its side. Platform 12. Then she left us something that proves otherwise. A distant click echoed through the station. One by one, the old lights along the platform flickered on. At the far end, a speaker crackled to life. Vincent Moretti's voice filled the abandoned room. "Welcome, Christian." Elena said Camila would understand the card. "I told her daughters rarely become what their mothers hope." Camila looked toward the dark tunnel beyond platform 12. Christian stood perfectly still beside her. "Where is my mother?" she asked. Vincent's answer came without hesitation. "Close enough to hear you. Far enough that one wrong choice will make you lose her again." Vincent's voice settled over the abandoned platform with the confidence of a man who believed every exit already belonged to him. Camila kept her eyes on the dark tunnel beyond platform 12. Her mother was close. That possibility should have filled her with hope. Instead, it sharpened every instinct she had. Hope made people careless when someone else controlled the terms. Christian stood beside her, silent and still. But Camila noticed the angle of his shoulders change. He was listening for movement beyond the walls. "You said Elena could hear us," Camila called. "Let her speak." A soft crackle passed through the speaker. Then Vincent answered. "You are in no position to make requests." Camila looked down at the key in her hand. Platform 12. The number was engraved on both sides, which meant it was meant to be found, not hidden. Her mother had warned her to trust evidence instead of photographs. Evidence had weight, sequence, context. Vincent had given them a voice without a body, a threat without proof, and a station filled with lights he controlled. "Then prove she is here," Camila said. "Tell me something only she would know." Christian turned slightly toward her, but he did not interrupt. Vincent's reply came after a measured pause. "When you were 8, you hid overdue books beneath your bed because you were afraid the librarian would be disappointed in you." Camila's breath caught, but she did not let the reaction reach her voice. Her mother knew that story. So did the librarian who had called the house. So might anyone who had searched Elena's records carefully enough. "That is not enough. You always were stubborn." The speaker changed. A faint hiss. Then a woman's voice filled the station, older, tired, unmistakable. "Camila, do not give him the brass case." The world narrowed to that sentence. Camila gripped the edge of the cabinet to remain steady. She had imagined her mother's voice so many times that she no longer trusted memory. But this was not memory. Elena placed a slight emphasis on Camila's name, the same way she had when reading bedtime stories, as though her daughter's name deserved its own line. "Mom?" The word left Camila before she could stop it. The speaker went silent. Vincent returned. "Now you understand. Let me see her. Bring the case to platform 12. Christian leaned closer, his voice low enough that the microphones would not catch it. "He wants us focused on the speaker." Camila nodded. The key was still in her palm. She studied the platform. 12 did not refer to a visible track number. St. Agnes had only 2 tracks. Platform 12 had to be something else. A locker, a service door, a maintenance, the tiled wall, until she found a row of brass numbers above the old reading room cabinets. 8, 9, 10, 11. A narrow door beyond them carried no number, only 4 empty screw holes where a plaque had once been. 12. Camila slipped the key into its lock. It turned easily. Christian placed one hand against the door before she opened it. "Wait, my mother is behind it. Possibly. You heard her. I heard a recording or a transmission." The words hurt because they were reasonable. Camila looked at him. "We verify before we enter." For the first time that night, she saw no trace of command in his expression. He was asking her to trust his caution. Camila stepped back. Christian crouched near the bottom of the door and examined the thin gap beneath it. A faint current of air moved outward. He pointed toward the dust. 2 lines had been disturbed recently, narrow and parallel, as though something heavy had been rolled through. Camilla followed the tracks with her eyes. They led from the door to a grated section of floor near the platform edge. "A cart," she whispered, "or equipment." The speaker crackled again. "You are wasting time," Vincent said. "No," Camilla replied. "You are." She moved toward the reading room cabinets and pulled open drawer 9, empty. Drawer 10 held old transit ledgers. Drawer 11 contained maintenance tags. Each tag was stamped with a location code and inspection date. Camilla scanned them quickly. Platform 12 was not a passenger area. It was a secure records vault beneath the station control room. The final inspection had been signed 6 months ago by Elena Hayes. Camilla's hands trembled, but her mind cleared. Her mother had been here willingly enough to sign records. More important, she had left a trail in the one language she knew Camilla would read correctly. Catalogues, dates, placement. "The door is not the entrance," Camilla said. "It is the distraction." Christian's gaze moved toward the grated floor. Camilla lifted one maintenance tag. On the back, her mother had written a single instruction in pencil. "Follow the air, not the light." The lights above them belonged to Vincent. The air beneath the grate came from somewhere he had not sealed. Christian, a narrow stairway descended below the platform. The speaker came alive with sudden urgency. "Camilla, stop." She looked toward the ceiling. "That is the first honest thing you have said." She and Christian descended. The steps ended beside a small control room where one lamp burned behind frosted glass. Through it, Camilla saw the outline of a woman seated at a desk, silver threaded through her dark hair. Her posture was straight, familiar. The woman slowly raised one hand to the glass. Camilla did the same. Before either of them could speak, Christian looked past the room toward a second door standing open behind Elena. His expression changed. "We are not alone," he said. From the darkness beyond the doorway, Vincent Moretti stepped into view, holding no weapon, only a black folder marked with the Barone family seal. "Good," he said quietly. "Now all 3 of you can finally learn what Matteo Barone was willing to destroy to keep hidden." Camilla had imagined this reunion in 100 impossible ways, but none of them included a locked control room, an abandoned station, and Vincent Moretti standing between her and 18 stolen years. Her mother remained behind the frosted glass with one hand raised. Camilla could see the shape of Elena's face now, older and thinner than memory, but unmistakably hers. Every question Camilla had carried since childhood pressed against her throat at once. "Why did you leave? Why did you stay gone? Why did you let me grieve you?" She could not ask any of them while Vincent held the black folder against his chest, like a final verdict. Christian stepped slightly forward. "Open the door." Vincent looked at him with something that resembled disappointment. "Still issuing commands before you understand the room. You brought us here." "No," Elena did. Camilla looked through the glass. Her mother lowered her hand and pointed toward a small control panel mounted beside the interior door. A red light glowed above it. The room was electronically sealed from Vincent's side. "Mom, can you hear me?" Camilla asked. Elena nodded. Her lips moved, but no sound passed through the glass. Vincent lifted a remote from his pocket. "The intercom works when I allow it. Then allow it," Camilla said. His gaze shifted to her. "That is not the compliment you think it is." Christian glanced at Camilla, and for the briefest moment she saw approval in his eyes. Vincent noticed too. "Interesting," he said. Matteo trusted Elena. Now his son trusts her daughter. Families repeat themselves even when they believe they are choosing freely. He opened the black folder and removed several documents. The top page carried the seal of the Barone Foundation, followed by columns of dates, property numbers, and coded transfers. Camilla recognized the pattern from the microcassette case. "What is that?" she asked. "The foundation your mother helped build," Vincent said. "The public believed it funded hospitals, schools, and shelters. Some of that was true. The rest moved witnesses, protected informants, and buried evidence that could damage the Barone family." Christian's expression remained unreadable. "My father used charitable accounts to hide people." "To hide mistakes," Vincent corrected. "There is a difference." Camilla watched Elena through the glass. Her mother shook her head once, sharply. Vincent was shaping the truth. Camilla had spent years working with incomplete records. Missing pages never announced what had been removed. They revealed themselves through sequence, through gaps, through what no longer fit. She looked at the documents again. "You said Matteo wanted to keep something hidden," she said. "But these transfers protected people from him, did they not?" Vincent's eyes cooled. "From men who worked under the Barone name. That is not the same thing. It is when the name owns the consequences." Christian looked at the folder. Who were they protecting? Vincent turned the page. Employees who discovered a network moving vulnerable people through Barone-controlled properties. Accountants. Drivers, a social worker, 2 prosecutors, Elena Hayes. Camila felt the room tilt. Her mother had not merely restored old documents. She had found records hidden inside them. Matteo tried to expose the network, Camila said. Vincent gave a small smile. Matteo tried to protect the family while removing the men who embarrassed it. Elena struck the glass with her palm. The sound was dull but urgent. Camila looked toward the control panel. 3 lights, red, amber, green. The amber light blinked every 6 seconds. Backup cycle. The system was not permanently locked. It reset between power relays. Her mother had noticed the same thing. Elena pointed down toward the floor, then held up 3 fingers. 3 seconds. Camila understood. Why keep my mother alive? She asked Vincent. Buying time, because she knew where the original ledger was hidden, and she never told you, not yet. 18 years is a long time to fail. Vincent's expression tightened. Behind the glass, the amber light blinked. Elena counted silently with her fingers. 1, 2, 3. Camila moved toward the panel and pressed the release button. At the exact moment the light changed. A soft tone sounded. The red indicator went dark. The door unlocked. Vincent turned too late to stop Elena from opening it. Camila crossed the space between them before thought could catch up. Her mother's arms closed around her, and the years collapsed into the familiar scent of lavender soap and old paper. Camila did not cry at first. She simply held on, afraid that loosening her grip might make Elena disappear again. Then her mother whispered, "I am sorry," and every wall Camila had built inside herself cracked at once. Christian moved closer, placing himself between them and Vincent without touching either woman. "You have the ledger," he asked to look at him. "Your father hid it where no Barone would think to search." Vincent laughed softly. "She still believes Matteo was a hero." Elena turned toward him. "No." He was a frightened man who finally decided fear was not an excuse. The words landed harder than accusation. Christian's gaze dropped briefly, then returned to Elena. "Where is the ledger?" She looked at Camila. "Inside the book." Camila frowned. Page 317 was a map. The page was the first layer. Elena took the leather-bound volume from the brass case and pressed along the repaired spine. A narrow strip of material slid free, revealing a folded sheet no wider than a bookmark. Christian unfolded it carefully. At the bottom appeared Vincent Moretti's signature. Camila looked up. Vincent had stopped smiling. "That proves nothing," he said. "It proves you approved every property transfer," Elena replied. "It proves you redirected protection funds. It proves Matteo discovered what you were doing before his car left the road." Christian's face became very still. "You were there that night?" Vincent looked at him, and for the first time his confidence wavered. "Your father was going to destroy everything." "No," Camila said. "He was going to stop you." A warning tone sounded above the control room. The lights flickered. Vincent glanced toward the tunnel exit, then back at the ledger. Camila saw the calculation in his eyes. He was no longer trying to convince them. He was measuring escape. Elena tightened her grip on Camila's hand. Christian stepped into Vincent's path. He did not reach for a weapon. He simply held out his hand. "The remote," he said. Vincent looked at him for a long moment, then slowly placed it in Christian's palm. The station fell silent. Camila should have felt relief. Instead, she noticed one final detail in the folder Vincent had dropped. A recent train schedule marked with tomorrow's date, not 3 days from now. One departure had been circled in red, Boston. Beneath it, someone had written Elena Hayes +1. Camila turned to her mother. "You were planning to leave." Elena's face changed. Not guilt, fear. "I was planning to take you with me." Camila looked from the marked train schedule to her mother's face, and the joy of finding Elena alive collided with the pain of discovering another decision had already been made for her. "You were going to take me to Boston tomorrow," she said. Elena released her hand slowly. "I was going to get you away from Vincent without telling me the truth. The truth was the reason you were in danger. The truth is the reason I am standing here." The control room lights flickered again, casting brief shadows across the tiled walls. Vincent remained near the doorway, watched by Christian, but Camila could feel his attention shifting between the ledger and the tunnel. He was still searching for a way to turn uncertainty into leverage. "Camila, I know what this looks like. It looks like you decided my life for me twice." Pain crossed her mother's face. "The first time I was trying to keep you alive. And the second?" Elena glanced toward Christian. "I did not know whether he would become his father or Vincent." Christian did not react outwardly, but Camila saw the slight tension in his jaw. "You expected me to choose between them without knowing either of them," Camila said. I expected you to choose yourself. Then why was my name already on the schedule? Elena had no quick answer. That silence hurt more than an explanation would have. Camila turned away and looked at the ledger in Christian's hand. Names, dates, transfers, coded properties. Evidence had a structure. Unlike fear, it did not demand blind obedience. It asked to be examined. We are not leaving on that train, she said. Vincent gave a quiet laugh. You still believe choice matters? Camila faced him. It matters because you spent 18 years removing it from everyone else. His expression cooled. You have a list of transactions and a story told by frightened people. We have original records, a recorded statement, your signature, and a living witness. A witness who disappeared under a false death certificate. Elena stepped forward. Because you arranged the accident. Vincent looked at her with weary contempt. I arranged survival. Yours, mine, and Christian's. Christian's voice remained low. Do not use my name to excuse what you did. Vincent turned toward him. Your father was going to hand the organization to prosecutors piece by piece. He would have left you with enemies, lawsuits, and a ruined family name. So you stopped him. I preserved what he built. Christian looked down at the ledger, then back at Vincent. You preserved yourself. The words changed something in the room. Vincent's confidence did not disappear, but it lost its center. Camila saw it in the way his eyes moved toward the remote in Christian's hand. You think the police upstairs will understand any of this? Vincent asked. They understand records, Camila said. So do journalists. So do federal investigators. Elena looked sharply at her. The documents cannot leave through normal channels. Vincent has people in every office that matters. Then we do not use one channel. Camila opened the black folder and began separating the pages by date, account, and property code. Her mind settled into the work the way it always did when chaos entered the library. Information became manageable when it had order. The ledger is the index, she said. The supporting files must exist somewhere else. Elena nodded slowly. Matteo divided them. Tax records in one location, property deeds in another, witness statements in a third, and the book tells us where. Camila looked at the repaired spine. The dots and angled marks continued beyond the sequence for St. Agnes. She had noticed them earlier, but assumed they were decorative repairs. Now she understood. They were shelf references. Blackwood is not one hiding place, she said. It is the catalogue for all of them. Christian moved closer. Can you decode it? Yes, but not here. A distant rumble moved through the station floor. Train. A ventilation system starting somewhere beyond the platform. Vincent smiled again. You may not have a choice. The overhead speaker came alive with Daniel Mercer's voice. Mr. Moretti. The police have entered the east tunnel. You have less than 5 minutes. Elena looked toward the control room exit. Daniel was supposed to delay them. Daniel was supposed to do many things, Vincent said. Camila caught the change immediately. He no longer trusted Daniel. Betrayal was beginning to fold inward. Christian raised the remote and studied its buttons. Which one opens the lower service gate? Elena pointed to a small blue switch. That gate leads to the maintenance staircase. Christian pressed it. Somewhere beyond the control room, metal shifted with a deep mechanical sound. Vincent's expression hardened. You are making a mistake. Possibly, Christian said, but it will be mine. Camila looked at him. That single sentence carried more change than any promise could have. He was not choosing power for her. He was choosing responsibility for himself. Christian handed the ledger to Camila. Take Elena and go upstairs. She did not move. And you? I will stay until the police arrive. Vincent laughed softly. You think they are coming for me alone? Christian glanced at the documents. No. I think they are coming for everyone named there, including anyone in my organization who helped you. Camila understood then. He was not protecting the Barone Empire. He was willing to let the truth reach it. Elena seemed to understand, too. Your father tried to do the same thing, she said. Christian looked at her. Then I hope I finish what he started. Camila heard footsteps echoing in the maintenance stairwell. Real this time, multiple voices, official commands. Vincent looked toward the dark tunnel, then toward the exit Christian had opened. His options were disappearing. Camila closed the folder and held it against her chest. You told us families repeat themselves, she said. You were wrong. They repeat themselves only when no one has the courage to choose differently. Vincent's gaze settled on her, unreadable and cold. Then the station lights cut out again. In the darkness, Camila heard a door open, Elena grab her hand, and Christian say her name once. When the emergency lights returned, Vincent Moretti was gone, and so was the page containing the location of the final archive. For 1 second, no one moved. The emergency lights painted the platform in weak red bands, and the open service door at the far end swung once before settling. Vincent had known exactly where to go. Camila looked down at the black folder in her hands. The missing page had been near the center, the one her mother had called the final archive. Without it, the ledger still proved years of hidden transfers, but not where the supporting files were stored. Christian moved toward the open door, then stopped when voices echoed from the maintenance stairs. Police officers were less than a minute away. Chasing Vincent now would only scatter the truth into another tunnel. "He wants us to follow," Camila said. Christian looked at the dark passage. "Yes." "Then we do not." Elena stared at her daughter. "Camila, that page leads to the original witness files, which means Vincent cannot destroy them without knowing the full system." Camila opened the leather-bound book beneath the emergency light. The repaired spine was still intact. The page he had taken listed a location, but the book remained the catalogue. A catalogue never depended on one entry. It depended on order. "He stole the answer," she said, "but he left the method." Christian turned away from the tunnel and joined her. "Can you rebuild it? Not from pattern, maybe." Elena moved beside them. "Your mother used redundancy," Christian said. Camila looked at him. "My mother?" He gave Elena a brief glance. She hid the same escape route on the library card and inside the book. She expected one clue to be compromised. Elena nodded. Matteo insisted on that. Every record had 2 references in separate systems. Camila ran her fingers along the repair marks. 3 dots. 1 line, 7 angled strokes had led to St. Agnes. Beyond that, smaller symbols repeated in pairs. She had assumed they were page repairs. Now she compared them to the transfers in the ledger. Property codes appeared beside dates. Dates matched shelf numbers. The structure began to emerge. "The final archive is not one location," she said. "It is a sequence." The first police officer appeared at the stairwell entrance and called for everyone to remain where they were. Christian raised his empty hands and identified himself. Camila held the documents against her chest and kept studying the book. The officer approached carefully, followed by 2 others. One recognized Christian, and the atmosphere changed at once. Suspicion entered the room before anyone asked a question. Vincent had counted on that too. "We need federal investigators," Camila said. "Not only local police." The nearest officer looked at her. "Mom, we need you to put the folder down." Christian stepped slightly aside so he was no longer between Camila and the officers. It was a small movement, but she understood it. He was refusing to shield her from lawful scrutiny, even when his instincts told him to control the room. "The folder contains financial records, property transfers and witness references," Camila said. "It needs to be copied before it leaves this station." The officer hesitated. Christian spoke quietly. "Do as she says." Camila looked at him. He corrected himself before anyone reacted. "Please." The word sounded unfamiliar in his voice. Elena noticed too. The officer contacted a supervisor. Within minutes, the station filled with measured instructions, evidence bags, cameras, and questions. Camila answered only what she knew. She did not speculate about Vincent. She did not claim certainty where none existed. The discipline steadied her. Facts first, sequence second, meaning last. An hour later, they were moved to a secure reading room above the old platform. Dawn had begun turning the high basement windows grey. Noah was safe with his mother. Daniel Mercer had been detained upstairs. Vincent had not been found. Christian sat across from Camila at a long table while Elena rested nearby under the care of a paramedic. The leather-bound book lay between them in a clear evidence sleeve. "You should go with your mother," Christian said. "She has been waiting 18 years. Camila looked toward Elena, who had finally closed her eyes. "So have I. Then why are you still here?" "Because Vincent believes he stole the final location." She pointed to the ledger. "But these transfers repeat every 12 months. Same 3 properties, same amounts shifted by 1 digit. Christian leaned forward. "A code? A circulation pattern?" Camila took a pencil and wrote the property numbers in order. 1 matched Blackwood. 1 matched St. Agnes. The 3rd belonged to a building listed as vacant on Roosevelt Island. Christian studied the sequence. "The final archive is there." "No," Camila circled the dates. "The building is only the next index point." Elena opened her eyes. "Every year," she said softly. Matteo changed the storage site annually so no single person could control all the evidence. Camila understood the rest before her mother finished. Vincent had taken 1 page because he believed it identified the current site, but if the cycle had continued, that page was already outdated. "The current archive is still hidden," Camila said, "and Vincent does not know where." Christian looked toward the window as morning light reached the table. "But you can find it." Camila met his gaze. Yes, his expression did not soften, but something in it changed. Trust, perhaps. Or surrender to the fact that her mind had become the most powerful thing in the room. He placed both hands flat on the table, far from the weapon he no longer carried. "Then tell me what you need." Camilla looked at the book, the ledger, and the mother she had found alive beneath a forgotten station. "Every Barone property record from the last 18 years, she said. "Every charitable transfer, every building your father purchased and never used." Christian nodded once. "You will have them." Elena watched him carefully. "And when the records expose your organization?" Christian did not look away from Camilla. "Then they expose it." The answer settled into the quiet room with the weight of a door finally opening. Camilla had expected power to resist the truth until the end. Instead, Christian Barone was handing her the keys to everything his name had built. Outside, the city began waking above them, unaware that an empire had just chosen to become evidence. 6 months later, Blackwood Library reopened beneath a clear October sky. The marble lions at the entrance had been cleaned, the broken fixtures replaced, and the old security system rebuilt under federal supervision. Reporters still gathered across the street some mornings, hoping for another statement about the Barone investigation, the missing Foundation records, or Vincent Moretti's arrest at a private airfield outside Boston. Camilla had stopped reading the headlines after the first month. The truth had become public slowly, then all at once. Property transfers led to hidden accounts led to witnesses led to names that had remained protected for decades. Christian had opened every file his organization possessed and submitted himself to questioning without asking for immunity. Some businesses were seized, others were reorganized under independent oversight. Several charitable programs survived because investigators proved they had genuinely helped people. The Barone name no longer opened every door in Manhattan. Camilla suspected Christian considered that a kind of freedom, although he had never said so. She stood behind the restored circulation desk and watched Noah Reed explain the emergency exits to a group of younger children as if he had designed the building himself. He had grown 2 inches since that night and now returned books early because he claimed overdue fines were a threat to civilization. Elena worked 3 afternoons each week in the special collections room, cataloging the documents she had spent 18 years protecting. Their reunion had not repaired everything. Some mornings Camilla still woke angry. Some conversations ended in silence because there were wounds love could acknowledge but not erase. Elena never asked her daughter to forgive quickly. That helped more than apologies repeated too often. They were learning each other again through ordinary things. Coffee at 8, grocery shopping on Sundays, arguments about whether old photographs should be stored in acid-free sleeves. It was not the childhood Camilla had lost, but it was real, and reality had become precious to her. At 5 minutes before closing, the front doors opened. Conversation softened across the reading room. Christian Barone entered alone. No dark convoy waited outside. No men followed him between the tables. He wore a simple navy coat and carried a leather-bound book beneath one arm. Camilla noticed his hands first, empty. He had made a habit of leaving all weapons with security before entering the building. Even though no rule required him to do so, he approached the desk and placed the book in front of her. The anatomy of silence had been fully restored. Its spine was smooth now, but one faint line remained where page 317 had once concealed the map. "You are late," Camilla said. Christian glanced. "The library is still open. The book was due last Tuesday. I was answering questions for a federal committee. Blackwood does not recognize that as an exemption." One corner of his mouth lifted. The expression was still rare enough that Camilla felt it before she allowed herself to smile. She scanned the book. "You owe $2.40. Christian placed $3 on the counter. "Keep the change. We are not a criminal enterprise." "That has been made very clear to me." Noah laughed from the children's section. Christian looked toward him, then back at Camilla. The months had changed him in ways photographs never captured. The authority remained. So did the quiet. But he no longer seemed to fill silence by controlling it. He allowed other people to speak first. He asked before making decisions that affected them. When Camilla had refused the private protection team he offered, he had not sent one secretly. She had checked. "Did you finish reading it?" she asked. "Twice, and it was not about silence. Most books are not about what the title promises." Christian rested one hand on the counter, but he did not move closer. "I found something inside." Camilla opened the cover. A white envelope rested between the first pages. Her name was written across it in his precise handwriting. She looked up. "Is this another map?" "No. A financial confession? Those are with the government." "Then what is it?" His gaze held hers, steady but no longer unreadable. A question. Camila opened the envelope. Inside was a new library card with Christian's name printed beneath the Blackwood seal. On the back he had written one sentence: dinner chosen freely, with no guards and no obligations. Camila read it twice, not because the words were difficult, but because they were not. No command, no protection disguised as ownership, no decision made on her behalf. She looked at him across the desk where their lives had first collided. You could have asked out loud. I am learning patience. That must be uncomfortable, extremely. Camila placed the card beside the scanner. Friday, 7 o'clock, somewhere quiet. Christian nodded. You choose. I was planning to. His smile appeared fully this time, small and unguarded. When the closing announcement sounded, he stepped aside and waited while she helped the final patrons gather their belongings. He did not rush her. He did not claim her attention. He simply remained near the doorway with the restored book in his hands. Camila turned off the desk lamp and joined him beneath the high stone arch. Outside, the city moved through evening traffic, bright and indifferent, carrying millions of stories no one had catalogued yet. Christian held the door open, then waited for her to decide whether to walk through it. She did. Once he had ruled rooms by making everyone afraid to move. Camila had never taught him how to become harmless. She had taught him something harder. Power meant nothing if it could not step aside, and love began only when the other person was free to stay.